True story. 8 years ago, I ordered a custom bow from a reputable bow manufacturer all the way across the country. We talked a couple times, talked about woods and styles, and then we settled on what I was looking for, gave him my specs, and paid my down payment. 7 months later, the bow was ready. I paid in full. He shipped me the bow. I hated it the minute it came out of the box. It didn't look good. It didn't feel right. It didn't shoot good. I ended up selling that bow 3 weeks later for $250 less than I paid for it. I took a bath on that, and my wife was not happy. Enter Blackwidow Bows. They have a test drive program. If you're even remotely interested in shooting a Blackwidow bow, give those guys at the shop a call. Talk to them. Tell them what you're looking for. They're going to give some really good guidance. They're going to have some really great advice. They're going to have a bow that's close to your specs on the demo rack, if not right on. You're going to run your card. You're going to pay for shipping both ways. You're going to pay for insurance both ways, and you're going to get to shoot the bow for a week. You might decide you don't want to shoot a Blackwidow bow, and that's cool. Send it back. But you might decide you want to order one. You want to make some tweaks to get it just what you want. I wish I had that option 8 years ago. If you're thinking about a Blackwidow bow, give those guys a call. If nothing else, they're fun to talk to.
Welcome to another episode of the Stick Bow Chronicles, brought to you by Blackwidow Bows. And this week we've got another Empty Quiver episode. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, same old, man.
Empty Quiver episodes are always a little bit easier, probably because, we talked to Aaron quite a bit. It's just, some buddies BSing this week. We had an extra guy on board.
Yeah, Jim Eeckhout joined us. And like you said, Aaron's, things flow pretty good when we get Aaron on, and Jim's a super good guy. And we kind of dive down just about every rabbit hole we could think of.
We even got into politics, man.
Politics, wolves, bear razorheads, the whole nine. But no, it was fun. It was fun having both those guys on the mic at the same time.
Yeah. I can't wait to get together with those guys at the Big Game Classic. Well, actually, we're going to hunt with Aaron in, the end of January. That'll be a hoot. But then get together with Jim in March at the Big Game Classic there in Michigan. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and meeting some of these guys and putting faces to names and so forth, getting to shake some people's hands. And
holy smokes!
Hopefully, I can make it to that.
Yeah, you ain't kidding, man. There is so many people. There's so many people that you want to say friends in this new world. I don't know, maybe it's legit to you because you're 29 years old, but to me, when I say friends, it's usually somebody I've looked in the eye and shook their hands. But, take a guy like Drew Kohlhofer. I mean, I call him a friend. Actually, I guess I saw him this fall, but there's lots of people out there that I talk to quite a bit, and I look forward to meeting them.
No, it's strange times. I mean, I've met, this last hunting trip I went on in Colorado, two of those guys that I went with, I'd never met in person. And James, the only one that I had met in person, I originally met him through Instagram. And it's crazy the way the world works now, I guess. But, Drew, I call Drew a friend, and I've never met Drew face to face, and we talk fairly regularly. Cody Greenwood was the same way. I was buddies with Cody Greenwood, I felt like, for 6 months before I ever met his goofy ass.
I can't wait to meet Cody Greenwood. I like the hell out of him, and we started butting heads. We'll probably butt heads all the time, but that's what's awesome. I dig him.
He's a great guy. Of
course, you see he's shooting wood arrows now on a wood bow, right?
Yeah, that's just so people can't give him shit, I think.
Man, I'm
crap. We got to edit that out.
I'm changing lives. Him and Levi Morgan. I think Levi Morgan just shot his last deer with a compound.
Yeah, I bet he did.
Did you see that buck? That was a dandy.
I did.
Yeah.
I didn't read the caption or anything, but I did see the buck. I was kind of scrolling through earlier.
Yeah. Man, we are getting some beautiful. I mean, let me back up. I mean, we're getting lots of pictures in the I Hunt Close Trad Kill 2020. And some of my favorite are with so far has been with dads with kids. We haven't got any moms with kids in the picture. But we're also getting some really nice deer. I mean,
Mega bucks.
dang.
Shout out to Logan Glassburn.
Yeah.
New Ohio state record with a recurve
Is it really
on
a
the
new state
Buckmasters.
record?
And the Buckmasters, the
Wow.
BTR scoring, yeah, it is.
Wow.
I think it was 201 and change, but Logan sent that in and
I think
super, super awesome buck.
I
I mean,
know
just a dream buck.
I can't remember names. I know we just in the last day or two got and it's a shame I can't remember the name, but somebody sent in their first trad kill, big whitetail. I mean, really nice. I'm sure you're going to remember it. I think I just posted it today on Instagram. We've gotten several first trad kills that are like, holy smokes, that's a real deer. So it's been fun.
No, it's been awesome. Everything from people's first kills being does or whatever. It's fun to see people enjoying from more or less from one side of the spectrum to the other. People enjoying a doe just as much as they're enjoying a big old buck or whatever. It's it's just fun to see people enjoying it for the reasons that they want to enjoy.
Somebody sent their kid in, 13-year-old kid shot a doe. Remember that?
It.
Yep.
Yep.
I sent
Yeah, I
him.
did see that.
I was hoping I had some shirts here to send him. I didn't. I sent them some stickers, but super cool stuff, man. We've got we've got one more month to go, and they're still piling in. So your 2020 trad kill doesn't matter if it was January 1st on a lion or April on a turkey, whatever, hogs. Clear up to December 1. Your 2020 trad kill, send it into ihuntcloseofficial at gmail.com. You can go on the our Facebook page, and you can find us or Instagram to find what you're supposed to do, or just message us on the Stickbook Chronicles at gmail.com. Questions, yeah, get them in because we got some cool gear to give away. You want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so Ironwill is Bill over at Ironwill has donated a 6-pack of broadheads in the SKB case that he's got. Sitka Barklow over at Sitka has thrown in, I think it's like a 5-piece clothing system. He's thrown that in for it. Aaron at Kifaru's thrown in a pack and a quiver. And then Blackwidow has thrown in a custom Damascus knife. So make sure and thank those companies. They're helping to support traditional archery, support us. So if you can support those guys, and yeah,
That's the coolest thing about this for me is you got companies like Aaron. He has done so much for traditional archery. You take a company like Kifaru. I mean, they have done a ton for traditional archery. They're jumping in on this. You think about what a pack costs and his quiver. I mean, we're talking about that's some merchandise. Ironwill, not necessarily a trad company again, but he's jumping in to help support and promote traditional archery. John Barklow over at Sitka, again, a big
interesting.
company. Yeah, a big company jumping in and helping promote traditional archery. And of course, Blackwidow, they're a big part of that. That is what they do. So I'm really stoked about these companies helping just promote traditional archery for sure.
Yeah, just make sure you get your entries sent in before the deadline's up.
Yeah, and check out the hashtag #IHuntCloseTradKill2020. I was actually strolling through there. There's been a bunch of photos I missed on there. People just tagging it. Went through there today, checking it out.
You got anything else?
Oh, probably, but I'm going to go get some dinner. I got to go to bed.
I'm right behind you. I got to drive to East Texas in the mornings.
What part of Texas you in? West Texas?
So, Nah, I'm like north central, and then I'm driving down to East Texas to go do a job in the morning.
Is that a 1-day trip? Back the next
Eh,
day?
yeah, it may be 2 days, depending on how it goes tomorrow. So I may be down there for a couple
You're gonna get
days.
up. You're gonna remember to vote on Tuesday.
You bet.
Right
I'll
on.
make sure.
I'm gonna have to leave work. I'm working a 12-hour day. I'm gonna have to leave work to go vote, but I am gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that we get back in time, even if we got to have somebody come relieve us or something to get back in time to go vote.
Oh, I'm gonna have
We'll make sure we get it done.
Yeah, I'll have to take time off work. I'm gonna have somebody cover the desk for me, but get her done.
All right, man. Well, let's get out of here.
All right.
Let's thank the sponsors real quick. Want to thank Selway Archery, Ironwill Outfitters, Hooded Shaft, Kifaru International, and of course Blackwidow Bows.
Right on. You guys enjoy the show. Roger out. What's going on, guys?
Nothing,
not much.
So we've got Jim Eeckhout, Aaron Snyder. You guys met in Michigan, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Aaron, you're going back to Michigan next year, right?
I'm doing something for Jim. I actually told my wife I'm never doing any more shows, and then Jim asked, and I totally pushed it out and was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll do it because Jim's a cool guy." But yep, I'm not sure what it is because I forgot, but I told him I'd do it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you doing it. It's for the Compton Big Game Classic, and we're Michigan Traditional Bow Hunters. We're hosting the Compton Big Game Classic over in Grand Rapids, Michigan, this coming March 19th and 20th. And so it's going to be kind of cool to do that. And Aaron's going to come in and be the keynote, and we're going to bring in actually Jake Downs is going to come in too, and I guess him and Aaron are going to do something. So yeah, it's going to be pretty neat, because everyone brings their mounts in and everything. It's a big display, and it's a lot of fun.
We're going to talk about how to earn your fall.
There you go.
Kidding. I just throw it in there.
Oh. Is that earn your fall whitetail version or mountain goat version?
I tell you what, I just earned. I guess this would be my late fall, which is a lot of ho-hos and ding-dongs. Tell you what,
that's a literal
I can tell
sense.
why 65% of the hunting community hunts whitetails. It's easy and you get fat. Not easy to get one, but it doesn't take a whole lot to go get in a tree stand. Freezing your butt off after that, though, that's a little bit different. But
I don't know. I just tried to cut my finger off in a whitetail stand. So.
I farted and I looked down and I saw snow poof up when it hit the ground, so I knew it was pretty cold.
What you do out of tree stands is not classified as a fart, bro.
I tell you, Luke just asked me about that. Never eat that much deep fried food in Alabama. Well, when the waitress tells you people have died there while eating, it can't be that healthy.
Oh, buddy,
that's pretty rough.
I got to tell you, when Mike Milfreed and I were in Georgia, I think it was Georgia, we were hunting hogs with Jeff Holchen and a bunch of guys over there. We stopped at some roadside clam, seafood place, and we were that's all we were talking about for 2 months is hammering the seafood. We get in there, and this lady, gosh, I don't know if I should say this. She was ginormous. I mean, there was like 3 people in her. There was ginormous, and she's hammering.
What did they say on that? What's heffalump?
But what made it funny? What made it funny is like she's got this bucket of oysters or something, and she's going at it. I kid you not. Her husband got up, and this is love. This is love. He gets up from the chair, walks around behind her, and holds her hair back while she's eating. Like,
oh, good grief.
Oh my gosh. It was crazy. we knew we were in the deep South then.
Yeah, don't lump Texas into that.
Not a lot of healthy food there. The problem with Texas is the barbecue. Oh, it's just too good. Like when you bite your finger, after you finish because there's still barbecue sauce on it on accident. So you know there's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too funny.
So Jim, you had a pretty good time up in Alaska this year. You ran into a grizzly, but you also killed a caribou.
Yeah, we had a great hunt. I mean, we were in the moose every day and had numerous stalks and just couldn't, put it together. As all, how that goes. And then ended up killing that caribou. Had that running with a grizzly. So I mean, I had a really good hunt up there.
You had pretty much covered all the bases there.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
And I was shooting that new bear bow. I'm real impressed with it. And I came back here and I've been putting it to work too. So
Yeah, you have. Hey, man, what is with you guys and those? Even your does are ginormous. I mean, all the bucks. Oh man, we're getting all those first trad kill photos in, and Marie Sturgis.
Yeah.
Man, that thing was a tank.
She shot some nice big does. Do you see those things?
No, she shot a hell of a buck.
Yeah, she shot that nice buck yesterday too, and then Denny got that buck, and I don't know, I guess it's just the Midwest. It's it's all, at least where I live and where Denny's at too, because he's not that far from me. It's just all cornfields, and they eat good, So nice. It's not like when I would go to Texas and you're shooting a deer, and it's like, man, I walk up to him and I was like, whoa, because I can just grab that whole deer like nothing. But I guess maybe not all Texas is like that. At least where I was hunting, a big buck was maybe 130, 140 pounds.
Well,
they're kind of up here where I'm at. They're kind of in between, I would say. They dress, 160, 170 pounds, field dressed. So they're kind of in between Midwest and hill country.
Okay. And it's definitely different up north. Yeah, up north where I was at, I think that one deer, gutted was like 192 pounds. So they're bigger body, but they're also, they're Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, New Mexico, it's all right there. So a little bit different farther north. I think one of the does I shot was 140 pounds. So a little bit bigger up there. And they're all feeding off of ag too, right there. So.
Yeah, the does in the hill country look like greyhounds.
Yeah, exactly. When I first went down there, the first one I shot, I walked up to, I was like, wow. So it was deceiving. I wasn't used to that,
Yeah, and those boogers are hard to kill down there too.
Yeah, you got to really, literally, I took a bunch of buddies down. I had a lease down there for a while, and I told them, I said, you guys, I don't care how fast you think your bow is, you almost got to aim below them.
They really do.
Oh, okay. Well, they learned the hard way real quick. So
I just talked about that on a podcast I just got off of, is aiming low and a little back, because they drop backward, they drop down and back, and they drop right into your arrow.
No kidding. So you're aiming like bottom of the back long or something, or even further back, or?
I aim low, liver and low. So I aim more. Now, as I say that's not every whitetail I shoot at. In some places they're not dropping, but where they're all cracked out, like Alabama, I'm basically aiming liver line and then about 4 inches low for them to drop into it.
Exactly. Yep. And that's what I learned in Texas, but here in Michigan, they're not as, I don't know, in Texas, those deer seem way more high strung to me. Even when I hunted Kansas, they're maybe a little bit more high strung than here in Michigan, but I don't know. I just learned real quick in Texas, and even when I hunted Kansas, I just, like Aaron said, you just get below them and a little bit back, because they drop right into it.
Getting hunted over bait's a big part of that jumpiness, I think. They get really, really anxious.
I'm trying to think of the guy that used to shoot for Hoyt, and I'm talking like early 90s. Jim, you might remember him, or even Aaron. Gosh, dang it. Him and his Bill Krenz?
Bill Krenz,
yeah.
He was a bow hunter magazine guy too.
Yeah, he made a video one time of his wife. So you were talking the early 90s, so technology, speed of bows, even even photography was a lot slower. He makes a video of his wife shooting at a spike whitetail, and dadgum, the deer's only like 12, 14 yards, something like that. She shoots, and in real time, she just misses it. But it was talking about how a deer ducks the arrow, not because it is ducking the arrow so much as it's loading up to get out of there. And he has a little box around the kill zone, and when the deer's gone, that box is still there, and her arrow goes right through it. That was kind of cool. Going way back.
Yeah, I did that actually a few years ago. I videotaped one like that.
Oh, I got a video on my computer.
Yeah, I videotaped a buck up in the UP. My parents live in the Upper Peninsula, and this buck came in. And he's just like coming down, a runway. And I drew back and I shot, and it was just like when the arrow hit him, I just was dumbfounded. And it looked like I hit him right in front of the rear hind quarter, angling away. I said, well, the deer was perfectly broadside, but they had it on video. So I got up to their house that night. I plugged it into their television, and I put it on slow motion. I said, see that tuft of hair? My dad's like, yeah. I go, well, that's where I was trying to put the arrow. So I held my finger kind of like on the TV screen. It was clicking through, and sure enough, that's where the arrow went. But that deer dropped to load, and kick off. And as it did. It caught him right behind the hind quarter, but it angled right up into him. The deer didn't go 100 yards. But how could I make such a bad shot? But it wasn't a bad shot. Just the deer, you said about Phil's video with his wife. It just loaded. They shoot out of there so quick,
Yeah, I got quite a few videos on the computer. Go ahead, Aaron.
One of the shots of the deer I made in Alabama, and it wasn't far by any means. I think it was like 16, 17 yards, and I probably shouldn't even tell this story, but I aimed lungs on the right side. It spun out of there so fast I hit it dead center in the middle of the neck on the left side, dropped it just DOA right there, and the deer's laying there with the arrow sticking out of its neck, and I'm like, what in the hell? And we watched the video, and it literally rocketed out, and as it was twisting to come out, its neck ended where its lungs were right when my arrow went there. And it killed it, but I'm like, okay, yeah. I have to reassess my situation here. These deer are quick, and on film with a compound shooting 290 feet per second, 2017, I shot at a deer at 40 yards, which, at the time I was like, 40 yards, I'll just aim body line. I missed it by 3 feet, and the arrow was, literally, we drew a dot, and it literally was within a half inch of pinwheel where the arrow went, but I literally missed the deer by almost 3 feet. That's how fast it got out of the way. Those deer they're on a different level down there.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 2017, 2016. My buddy Jake, we had 2 spike elk at, 25 to 30 yards, somewhere in there, 25, 30 yards. Completely calm. We didn't call them in. They just walked up on us. They had no idea we were there. He draws and shoots, and he hit that spike on the opposite shoulder. That's not normal for elk. That thing just turned inside out. So he's shooting behind the shoulder, and he hits the offside shoulder. Just flat turned inside out.
They move quick.
But I don't get that here with the whitetails. Too bad around here, but I don't know why. I don't know if they're so used to people and agricultural and stuff going on all the time. I'm not sure why, but I noticed that like in the Upper Peninsula or places like that where they're not around people, they seem to be kind of wired too, but they're, not as bad as Texas or Kansas or that.
So you're saying those deer in northern Michigan that are not around people are wired too?
Seems like it to me in the UP. You wouldn't think they'd be, but I think it's because you can hear a pin drop up there. It's so dead quiet. And you just, any rustle or anything, any noise, your clothing or that, they notice that, So I don't think,
Yeah.
It's so quiet up there compared to like where I hunt here. There's a road every square mile. It's all patchwork quilted roads and farm equipment and stuff's going on. And, so I don't think that they're as wound up here because they're hearing noise all day long,
You know, we've been talking about scent quite a bit, Blake and I, and a couple people on podcasts here recently. What do you guys? What's your routine? And Aaron, you know, you got going down in Texas. What are you guys doing with your clothes? You know, anything particular?
Well, in my case, Scotty has 5 dogs, and they're generally wrestling around with me, so I've got that going for me. I smell like a dog, and I chew and generally spill some of that on me. So I really pay attention to the wind and what stand I'm sitting in, because I do nothing with the wind.
It's just all
I literally
direction.
go in.
Yeah, just all wind direction.
I think now this is just me. Unless you're using ozonic, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do with the whitetail's nose other than pay attention to where you're walking in. You know, spraying your boots, I get that. Wearing rubber boots, definitely, you know, as far as that goes. But, you know, I don't pay attention to anything with the clothing. I mean, I don't want to smell like detergent or anything, but I just pay attention to the set and which stand I'm getting in, and make sure, you know, I come in on an area least likely for a deer to cross, you know, from feed to bed or bed to feed. And I really don't worry about it other than that. I just make sure I have a good wind. I think most of that stuff's a sales pitch and a crock of shit, honestly.
What about you,
Yeah,
Jim?
I agree with Aaron on that. I agree 100% because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Aaron said, I'll wash all my stuff in either baking soda or whatever, and I'll hang it out on the line. But it's honestly, it's the wind. I mean, if I think the wind is wrong, I'm not going to that stand. It's just that simple. Or if I can't get in there quietly, like I've got one stand that's a great stand, but in the morning I come in from a whole different direction than I do in the evening. You know, I just do that. You just play the wind, and like Aaron said, I think the rest of that stuff, I don't know, unless you're maybe using that ozonics, you're not fooling a whitetail's nose.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for me, I use the ozonics some, but what I've found is just using the ozonics is typically not enough. And I usually wash my clothes in scent-free detergent or whatever and spray down and all that stuff and try and control every variable I can. And a lot of the reason being is the spots that I hunt, most of them anyway, unless I'm hunting pinch points or hunting more traditional, like big woods type tactics. If I'm sitting bait or something like that, there's not a lot of times a good wind direction because you know, a buck is going to come in when the wind is good for him, which is usually when it's bad for me. So if I'm going to sit bait or something like that, I've got to do everything that I can do to try and control all those variables. And I've played around with ozonics. I've played around with dead downwind. I've played around with all this stuff. And I can physically see a huge difference in how deer behave downwind of me when I do use scent-free detergent and I do use ozonics. But, you know, I guess hunting different type scenarios, like if you are hunting a pinch point between bedding and feed or something like that, you can definitely play the wind a lot easier if you're not sitting over a spot that they're going to come in and circle or something like that.
Yeah, and I just talked about this on another podcast, and I talked about the bait thing. One of the reasons I'm lucky enough, like in Oklahoma and in Texas, is I don't sit on the bait, and I set my tree stand up accordingly, which is a significant amount generally off any bait, because no matter where you go in Oklahoma and Texas, there's bait everywhere, whether it's on your land or somewhere. I mean, there's feeders all over. That's just how it is. It's because of the scent issue. And I, you know, in this case, I know where they're coming from when it's either they're, you know, depending upon the morning or night, they're coming from bed to feed to bed, and they're stopping in the middle at a feeder. I set up accordingly where they're not going to circle me because they don't know I'm there because I'm not on the feeder. And that's not something you can always do. So I may be, without getting made fun of, in a tree saddle. I may have sticks. There's going to be a ladder stand set up, and you can watch them looking at that ladder stand. You know, especially if they're 5.5-year-old, they'll come in 150 yards off that, watching that ladder stand circling downwind. The thing I do is I prep for them to do that and set up a totally different stand that they don't know where I'm at. And I'm very meticulous about that. And I'm really anal about the wind and what I do. So if I know what the wind's going to do, I may be putting in a tree stand at 4:00 in the morning, and getting in it and sitting in it for an hour, for a specific deer to come through that I'm hoping does exactly what Blake says and circles downwind. I'm just not in the stand he's circling downwind from. I'm in another one. And I'm super anal about that. And it's one of the reasons I've been real successful down there is doing that. And I just, I don't have as much faith as Blake in the spray and everything else. Mostly I've hunted with hounds a lot. And you're not fooling a hound's nose, and I don't care what spray you put on it. And I put a whitetail's nose up there with a hound. Now I'm not saying you shouldn't do everything you can to help yourself, but for me, right. I'm not diligent enough. I'm chewing 99.9% of the time. I probably got some kind of food on me. I've had dogs jumping on me all morning playing with them.
Barbecue
so I'm just
sauce.
like, okay. Yeah, exactly. I got barbecue sauce all over my face. And I know that. So, I'm sure I would work my way around it another way if I could, but just being real meticulous with the stand sets and knowing where the deer are coming from, I play off that more than anything.
Yeah, and that's definitely paid off big here too. If you can ever pinpoint exactly where they're coming from and what trail they're using or whatever, setting off, 150, 200 yards, you can kind of catch them with their pants down a little bit.
Jim, you
also could
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, you also can be sitting in a tree stand 150 yards out, about 130 yards out of range, thinking, shit, this seemed like a good idea at the time. And look at all those deer by the feeder. Damn it.
Yep. Jim, you and I probably are a little bit closer on what we're hunting. How often do you get busted? I mean, how often you get something behind you blowing or?
Again, I'm real careful on where I'm going. Obviously, we can't bait here or anything like that. And I never bait down here anyway. I just, I'm trying to get them coming in and out of soybean fields or corn fields, or I find good stands of oak. So it's kind of, I'll be honest with you, I don't really get caught that often. I think I've been doing this so long, I just kind of figured it out. And I mean, and there again, I think this has to do with there's enough people living in the area that they're smelling people every day or dogs or whatever. And then, I mean, once in a while, I think so far this season, one time a doe blew at me. Huh. I've seen deer now downwind of me. Like 2 nights ago, I had, a couple of does coming downwind of me, and they're eating on acorns, and they popped their heads up and they put their noses up and they just walked off. They were maybe 80, 100 yards away, and the wind was blowing pretty good right towards them. So they didn't blow, but I was physically, I could see them through the binoculars, watching them feeding. And when those heads went up, I go, well, they've got my scent now, and there's nothing I can do about that. But for the most part, I don't really get busted too often, honestly, because I pay so much attention to the wind.
Yeah, that's something Blake and I, it's something that didn't just dawn on me, but Blake and I were talking about this the other day, and hunting mountain whitetails. How many times a year do they smell a human where I'm at, as opposed to, someplace in a rural setting, where they might smell a human, once a week or twice a week, or, maybe every day. So when I get busted, it might be just, like busting a herd of elk. It's a mountain clearing event, and it's super frustrating.
Yeah, man, and I got to say, I think you guys are both super accurate on that, because, where we're at, and Blake, you can chime in on this. Like, this is Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas, wherever. Cattle trucks are going through, constantly. There's certain things you can get away with. I never hardly ever, if I can get dropped off in a stand, I always do, even if we blow deer out, because they're used to the trucks rather than a fat dude walking into a tree stand. They're like, oh yeah, they're going into a tree, where the truck, they're used to that truck coming in, whether they're feeding cattle or whatever. So I try to get dropped off, but in the morning, it's definitely I definitely circle where I have to, way around if needed, so they don't, cross and, they're not crossing my footpath on the way in. Where when I've hunted Idaho before for, whitetails, significantly different than hunting whitetails in the Midwest or down south. You have one blow and your day's ended, where I could have 6 deer blow out and more deer are coming. Where you're at, specifically, Rob, you're screwed. Once they're gone, and you're probably not going to see nothing else.
It's super uplifting. When you hear one,
it's just a numbers thing, right?
Yeah, when you hear one blow, you're like, "Hey, that was awesome. There was a deer here. I'm gonna call her good today."
No, it's even advantageous down here if you have the same color pickup as the guy who's working the cattle.
Are you kidding me?
As crazy as that sounds, if it's a similar looking truck, they just don't pay attention. They see it, that colored truck or a similar truck all the time.
Yep. The one where we had to lease, the guy would be going around feeding cattle, and he had this old Chevy pickup, and it was loud and everything, and he'd just be going around, and one day he's like, "Go for a ride in the truck." Man, the deer would be, like you say, they have those feeders down there, and he'd walk up and he's dropping stuff to feed cattle, and them deer would just basically stand there like pets as long as you had that truck. But if it was another vehicle, they were gone.
When were you hunting down there, Jim?
I had a lease down there, probably through the mid-2000s.
Oh, wow.
5 or 6 years.
We need to get you back down here.
Yeah, I miss hunting down there, especially since we're only about $2 here in Michigan, and I'm out of tags, except for does.
No, I don't want to hear you whine. There is no whining about that.
No, I mean, I still got.
Rob likes to have pity parties.
That's why I do this podcast. Hey, Aaron, if you can recall, how many deer did you shoot down there in Texas and Oklahoma? If you can recall.
A lot. Yeah, I mean, with the depredation tags and what? I'm not even going to say because nobody believed me anyway. But it was a pretty good week. Well, I almost pulled off 4 species. I missed a mule deer on a spot in stock and pretty heavy wind and missed range we just ranged the grass right in front of it. But it was pretty wild between the elk and the coyote and all the whitetails and being into mule deer. It was one of those trips where everything just, the stars aligned with a lot of things and they hadn't been hunted where I was at a whole lot yet, and the rut was just kicking in where we're just starting to chase does a little bit. So it was a good week.
It's like going to the grocery store, like #public lands, #conservation, eh?
I tell you, yeah.
I promise you, if I shoot a buck on public land in Oklahoma, it's going to be #public land, #DIY, because you gain like 50 inches, I think, if you shoot it on public. What I hear.
While we're talking about that, a few things I learned. No matter what you do, if Texas is hooked to it, immediately people think the worst. And Blake can tell you, North Texas is not same as where Blake's at. There's certain spots in Texas that are everything you think Texas would be when people imagine. And then there's other spots where there's no high fences. It's vast farmland, ag field, just standard fence. And so like I shot that elk and immediately I'm getting screenshots of guys saying I shot it on a high fence. And I'm like, well, that's pretty well known. There's wild elk up here. I promise, and,
there's desert big ones too. People don't know that.
Yeah. And I think people have and by no means, I'm not, this isn't me like defending anything. It's just more stating to people, it's just a vast, large land and different properties and, there's a lot of ag fields. So there's a lot of deer, but, they shoot a lot of 180, well, same with where you're at, Blake. A lot of 108, 200-pound, 220-pound, 180-inch whitetails in different spots where I'm at, and Blake, you've killed a few that are that big. It's not the skinny body, spindly rack type bucks people, maybe sometimes perceive Texas to be. The other thing I learned, I shot that coyote. Two things I got bashed over. Cornering away shot. I run that one with a steep cornering away shot. I was amazed by how many people told me I ruined all the meat and it was unethical. And I'm like, it died in 50 yards. When he told thing, what are you talking about? And then I shot that coyote. It was a long ways away. We drove over and I was filming what happened when I walked up to it and it was alive. And I'm like, oh, so whatever. I shut the phone off and finished it off. And I took a screenshot of the coyote of the video. I've never got that much hate mail from anything I've ever done. I'm pretty certain people thought I did an entire photo shoot of a wounded animal. And I'm like, geez, guys, you can ask me the question. Give me the benefit of the doubt. I thought it was dead. I walked up to it, camera's on, shut the phone off, killed it. Like, I literally got like, you're a total worthless piece of shit of a hunter. And I'm like, holy cow, I'm never doing that again. This was one of the worst decisions I've ever made. And I didn't even think twice because it was kind of standard. Walked up to it and I'm, oh shit, still alive, and finished it off. And between that and that corner and away shot on that big forky I shot, it was a lot of hate mail last week. I was kind of surprised.
That quarter and away shot, I'll say, the minute I saw it, I thought, damn, hell of a good shot. I mean, if somebody's got a problem with that, it's good. I thought too. Yeah, if somebody's got a problem with that, it's just they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm like not sticking up for you. I'm just stating a fact. That's a hell of a good shot.
I've taken that shot on many different animals, and I even posted about it if on a Q&A if the animal's not alert, obviously, and it's not moving, and it is a very lethal shot because you're ringing out everything they've got.
Yep.
You're taking out, obviously you are hitting the guts. You're also hitting the diaphragm, the liver, the lungs, and potentially the heart. I've never had anything go over 50 or 60 yards after a shot like that. My antelope was the same way. Antelope went, I guess, probably 70 yards. And I was at an alarming level. I got messages about how could you ruin the meat? And I'm like, how many of you guys are throwing away deer that have taken shots like that because your dad or grandpa told you the meat's ruined? It died in 50 yards in 5 seconds. Like, how is the meat ruined? It's not bad. I'm not basting it in intestine. Like, the inner body.
It doesn't even make sense, right?
One of the things is I think new hunters are just asking questions. And I totally appreciate that. Nothing wrong with that. Other thing, you know how it is with bro science. Your dad told you, or your dad's buddy, that if you do this, it ruins the meat. Or, for years I thought, when I was a kid, if you didn't cut the butthole out, the meat was ruined or something stupid. I can't remember. And I'm like, literally, like, guys, this is a very effective shot. Learn your anatomy. Learn all the goodies you need to hit, what angles. And guys are like, what'd you aim at? And I'm like, I aimed at where I wanted the arrow to end up. I envisioned where the arrow would go, and I saw the line, took the shot, and buried it in the front shoulder and the offside. I said, it's literally within a half inch of where I wanted to hit, and it was perfect. And I'm not shitting you. I bet I got 60 to 70 messages telling me that was the most unethical shot and I shouldn't post it. And it's encouraging people to take unethical shots. And I'm like, it should be encouraging people to learn to shoot their freaking bow accurately and learn anatomy is what it should be teaching.
That's always one thing that's chapped my ass a little bit is especially some of the guys who shoot super light poundage or light arrows or whatever. They're like, I guess what they hang their hat on is taking perfect shots all the time. And my argument to that is always, if I waited for a perfect shot, perfect broadside shot inside 20 yards every time, like I wouldn't hardly ever kill anything. When you only get a few opportunities a year, you better be willing to take, a quarter and away shot or whatever.
Well, I just, well, Blake, and you've shot with me. So, and I'm only saying that, Blake, you know how accurate I am. If I can't hit a softball, at the distance I'm taking that shot, then yeah, maybe I shouldn't, or when it was softball, football, whatever. Yeah, I get it, but I can hit a softball at that distance, and I can hit that softball on a bet pretty much every time. So yeah, I'm taking the shot. Now, if I couldn't, or I can't hit but a stop sign, maybe I shouldn't take that shot. But I was very comfortable with it, and Antelope was the same way. And so what I was trying to tell guys was like, look, don't take the shot if you're not accurate enough. But if you're accurate, you're confident, confident, the animal's not alert. It's one of the most lethal shots you can take. It's no different than a frontal. I don't take frontal shots all the time, but I've shot a lot of elk that way. At sub 20 yards, it is the most lethal shot you can take, but some people probably shouldn't take it. And you also have to have confidence. Like if you're shooting at an elk or a deer and you don't have enough act to go through if the stomach is full of grass and you're shooting, let's say, a mechanical on a compound, that can be a problem. But the antelope, same setup, it came out its chest. It actually passed all the way through it and cut its throat in half and passed through that. And on this deer, you guys saw the photo, it buried all the way up to the fletchings, and it only stopped because it hit the shoulder on the offside. And I'm trying to preach more accuracy, anatomy, in correct and proper, arrow and bow setups. And literally, I just got blasted by a bunch of guys saying that it was an unethical shot. And it is what it is. The only thing I can do is just try to teach people and help further their knowledge. But
you taking that shot, Jim?
Up. Oh yeah, I would take that shot that Aaron took exactly. But there again, it's knowing your anatomy, and that's one thing like Aaron made mention of. Most people don't look or think about where their arrow is going to come out, and that's what you have to do. That's the way I look at it on anything like that. If I can make that, actually, that doe I shot the other day, I let her walk past me, and she got out there, and I shot her pretty much. I knew I had to hit her at the back, at the last rib, quarter and forward. That's what it did. And it went right through there, came out in front of her shoulder on the right side, and it passed right through her.
Wait a minute,
she didn't go anywhere.
Didn't you show me a broadhead that said it was like 3? Was that you? It showed me a broadhead. It was like the third animal.
I shot all 3 deer with the same arrow and broadhead, a wood arrow too.
What broadhead?
I shot. It's a bear razor.
Damn it.
Yep, that bear razor. It's the same one.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a lot of people always give me crap about wood arrows, and these arrows they're only 560 grains, so I was kind of like, well, they're a little light for whitetail, or just what I'm used to shooting, I should say, not light for whitetail, but for what I'm used to shooting. So when I got back from Alaska, I was shooting 700 some grain arrows, but I just no different. But when I shot that first buck, it blew right through him. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Then it did it on the doe, and then the next night I just cleaned the arrow up real quick and resharpened it, and I shot that real big bodied 8-point. It blew right through him at 22 yards too, and I'm like, man,
how the hell is
that's a bear razorhead? Yeah,
how the hell is the archery industry supposed to survive if you're shooting multiple animals with the same arrow?
Especially wood, right?
Saving trees.
Yeah. I'm not at the level of shooting a wood arrow yet. I can tell you that. Tom was bugging me to do it, and I'm like, Tom, I got enough problems and I got enough hobbies. That sounds like that takes more effort. Yeah, but it's so much fun. I'm like, yeah. Let's wait till I got a few more irons out of the fire, and I didn't just purchase a company, and I don't have 7,000 messages a day. It seems like really novel idea, but dude, I don't have time for that shit.
Well,
like, good Lord.
I'm glad I thought you were going to say a few more animals under your belt. I really thought you were going to say that.
Well, I think I maybe mentioned this before when we were talking, Rob, on a different podcast. I tried those grizzly stick arrows. And I shot a few deer with one year, and I shot a bear with it. And then the next year, I shot my mountain goat with it. And it was just like, wow, they still break, So it's like, if I'm going to break an arrow, and I might as well just buy wood,
I love shooting wood. I really do. I like the sound of it off the bow. But man, I stump shoot so much, I just couldn't make them fast enough, and I'm not good at making them.
Yeah, that can be an issue. And I think maybe a buddy of mine, we were up moose hunting a couple of years ago, and we were stump shooting, and he was shooting some full metal jackets that he JB welded this, that, and the other thing to the end of it, and we were stump shooting, and there was a pile of sand on the edge of the lake, and I said, "Well, see if you can hit that leave right there." And he goes, "Which one?" So I shot, and then I'm shooting wood, and I go right there. So he shoots, and when he hit, that arrow went like tumbling in the air, and I walked over there, and it snapped the end off that full metal jacket arrow. And I said, "Yeah, that's why I shoot wood." And he was just perplexed. It ruined his hunt. He didn't think he could shoot a moose then and everything. What it was, there was a rock he hit. It just shattered it,
Yeah.
But so I don't know. They all break. I don't care who makes them. They break.
Goes back to something we brought up more than, I don't know, probably 20 times on here, is that confidence is your best tool to have in your toolbox, regardless of whatever arrow you shoot or broadhead or whatever.
Well, heck yeah. Arrow, broadhead, bow, scent control, you name it. It's confidence is the
I
name
agree
of the
with
game.
that. It's confidence because, like, just going into this year, I mean, 2 weeks before I left for Alaska, I got this new bow. And I strung it up, went in the yard and shot, and I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I can just shoot this bow. I don't know what it is with it. I don't know if it's just the way the grip is into it or whatever, and the arrow is so close to my hand, I can just shoot this bow like no tomorrow. I haven't shot this good since I've been in my 20s, and that's just plain and simple fact. I can shoot it. So
I thought you were I thought you were like 30 right now.
Well, I feel like it.
Hey, shift gears a little bit. Jim, you're up in Michigan. You guys got some wolf issues there. Aaron, you're in Colorado. We damn sure know you got wolf issues over there. You guys see that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service delisted them?
Yeah. Yeah,
I saw that.
What's that going to mean for Michigan, Jim?
Well, hopefully we're going to get a season. I'm trying to think. It must have been maybe 5 years ago we had a season here. And I don't remember what the exact amount tags that were going to be issued. There was a quota and all that stuff. And they didn't meet the quota, obviously. And then I think they shut it down. And then that was that. And they were relisted. Or it was like a temporary injunction. But hopefully they're going to open it up because, like I bear hunt up at my parents in the UP, and we don't ever use meat when we set the baits, but you still get wolves coming in. He's just curious, and then my dad gets them. He's got a couple trail cameras out. He keeps pretty much throughout the year, and he's getting pictures of wolves nonstop, and it's definitely an issue, and you can probably read the articles about the guys running bear dogs or even hunting rabbits or anything. Their dogs are just constantly getting killed by the wolves up there. So it's definitely an issue. Hopefully we can get it addressed that way.
You guys weren't able to trap them? You were just able to hunt them for that short period of time?
Yeah, I don't think we could trap them during that time, but hopefully this is going to open it all up because they definitely need to be controlled. I mean, if you're seeing them randomly, like that, or just picking them up on trail cameras, and, we'll see them occasionally while we're out hunting too. But, so there's definitely enough wolves that they need to be managed.
Aaron, have you heard that, is this going to impact the ballot initiative you guys have down there?
I don't know, if it will or not. I'm not sure. I've been doing a lot of different research on multiple different things. And one of the things, I just made a post on one of the areas in Colorado. The Western Environmental Law Firm is getting involved because they're wanting to thin out the mountain lion and the bear population because of the mule deer numbers are going down. And the Western Environmental Law Firm, and I brought them up before because they work with the BHA on different things, and not a fan of the Western Environmental Law Firm at all. And they are trying to basically shit can this concept and idea of thinning out the bear and mountain lion population, stating it's the oil workers that are affecting the mule deer population. My thing is there's still too many bears, and there's still too many mountain lions. So if you want to bring in the idea that the oil field industry is the problem for the mule deer, it doesn't take away from the fact there's still too many black bears and still too many mountain lions, scientifically proven. So if you're going to take if you're going to start diving into the oil field thing, you might as well fix the other problem too. And there they are battling it out to try and stop this. They were also at the tip of the spear for the grizzly bear ban. The footloose, no trapping in Idaho.
Yep.
Multiple other things. And in this, the Western Environmental Law Firm, and I've heard multiple excuses and reasons, did work with the BHA and does work with the BHA for whatever reasons, which is one of the reasons I'm nervous about the BHA, to partner with them. Now, I've heard people say, well, they didn't have money and it was just that, that was who, whatever reason. Environmental law firm is, as they are involved in just about any anti-predator hunting that's going on right now, trapping, baiting. They are also at the tip of the spear for reintroduction of wolves, as I understand it, or at least a large part of it, in Colorado. And we have enough. We're doing good in Colorado. We're one of the only states where all of our numbers are rising in all species. And, mule deer, that may not be the case, but we're doing good. Moose are doing great. Why would we reintroduce wolves? And why would we support someone that supports the Western Environmental Law Center, or law firms? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And so what's going to happen with wolves in Colorado? Who knows? But you think about it, now you got me going. The same morons who think that, people are riding coyotes across the border when Trump mentioned, coyotes bringing people across the border, are the same people that can vote wolves into Colorado. I mean, that is a scary, scary thought.
Yeah,
and I saw so many posts about Trump's so stupid he thinks people are riding coyotes, and it's like, oh no, actually you are the idiot. And they're going to vote. And they get to vote, and there's nothing we can do about that.
They've already voted with mail-in voting. Let me jump in on the Western Environmental Law Center. They are kind of an umbrella organization, so they are they represent defenders of wildlife. They represent Earth First. There's like 40. When I looked, there was like 40 or 50 different organizations that they represent. So they will file a lawsuit on behalf of Defenders of Wildlife or Earth First, or I can't think of them all. When the trapping ban is proposed on federal lands in Montana, that was the footloose, or when bear baiting on federal lands in Idaho, it is put forth by the Western Environmental Law Center on behalf of. So when, you mentioned BHA, so where I'm getting at is you mentioned BHA Montana chapter and BHA New Mexico chapter are listed as partners, just as the Defenders of Wildlife or Earth First or any of the other 40 some odd groups. That's frustrating. And with this recent delisting, I mean, it's crazy to think, how can you look at a federal agency like the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, when they delist wolves or when they delist the grizzly bear, they're not a conservative group. They're far from a conservative group. The animals have met their target numbers that these scientists have deemed appropriate, and they delist them. But Western Environmental Law Center will now file for a court injunction, and everybody's going to, have to go to court. Matter of fact, Idaho, the only way that the wolves were delisted, when they were finally delisted in Idaho, they were delisted in 2009 by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Western Environmental Law Center, they filed an injunction 2010 2011 is when they were actually delisted, and it was only because a congressman from Idaho and a congressman from Montana put a rider in the federal budget. There was a big budget battle with the Obama administration. And you know how everybody sneaks in these little pet projects? Well, they snuck in, or didn't sneak in. It was a big deal. Well, we passed this budget. The wolves are delisted. That's all. I mean, it's such a bunch of crap. And I cannot believe the amount of hunters that we have across the United States don't understand that you can't support a group that supports these. I'm going to get wound up. Okay. Tyler back. All right. So that's what's happened in Idaho. And I fear that here pretty quick, the Western Environmental Law Center is going to file an injunction, and we're going to be right back in fighting mode.
Yeah, after they've been delisted, I have no doubt they will. And with Colorado, for me, there's already piles of mountain lions, piles of black bears, and lots of hunters. And I have gotten in arguments with hunters that thinks it's a good idea to reintroduce wolves. And if somebody came up with a static, how would I put this? A plan that without fail, without a doubt, the wolves hit this number, we can go in and trap, we can hunt them. There's no way around it. So it is written, so shall it be done. There's a management plan that can't be deviated from, can't go to court, can't change it. I might be a little bit more open to the idea, but Rob, as you know, what'll happen is that the wolves, they'll drop 12 breeding pairs, and then they'll, once they hit however many numbers, then okay, they're quote unquote delisted. They can be hunted or trapped or however we go about doing it. But what'll happen when they hit those numbers, there'll be motions and injunctions filed in court, and it'll take forever for that to happen. And then by that time, it's too late. The moose, the elk, the mule deer, all those numbers are going to be depleted. And it'll take way too long to recover from that, where it's easier to just not let them in the state. I mean, it just makes it a lot simpler.
Yeah, even they're already there. That's what kills me about your vote.
Aren't they already there in the northwest corner of the state?
Yeah, there's definitely.
I don't understand how you can reintroduce an animal that's already there. That doesn't make sense to me.
That's perfect, Jim. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and they're definitely here. I mean, obviously, there's sightings and photos. And like I said, one got hit on the highway, I believe. So, no, I think that once they are, if they're already here, but obviously once they're reintroduced, it's kind of like ringing a bell that can't be unrung. At that point, it's a victory for, obviously some of the leaf flickers, and then it's a downhill spiral after that.
Well, part of the problem is when the Western Environmental Law Center runs a campaign or an initiative to stop trapping on federal lands. It's not about trapping. It's about managing wolves, right? When they run an initiative like they are, I don't know what the state of it is right now, but when they run a campaign or it's a federal lawsuit in Idaho and Wyoming to stop baiting on federal lands, it's not about baiting on federal lands. It's stopping management of bears. That's what it's about. That's what the frustration is when, Joe Schmo that's a hunter that says, oh, it's just bear baiting or it's just trapping. They're not seeing the big picture. It's about management. And that's what drives me crazy about this is everybody wants to come to Idaho and hunt because Idaho has great game numbers. It's because we manage our predators. And when you see hunters that say, well, it's ethically or morally incorrect to bait bears, that really ticks me off because it's about management. I had Chief of the Wildlife Bureau in Idaho on the podcast saying, point blank, It would be devastating if we lost bear baiting. But yet we'll have people out there that say, well, I don't believe in it, so therefore it shouldn't be done. Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Well, just kind of like, like I think Aaron made mention, or someone made mention about like some hunters are like, they don't understand how detrimental the wolves are to any of the big game populations. And I mean, they're killers and they're ruthless, and they don't just kill the weak and all that. I mean, if anybody wants to know any different, if you read that Alaska Wolfman book, I mean, that book took place from 1915 to 1955. So you didn't have all this environmentalists and all that. And that guy lived with the wolves, and he talks in that book about how they'll wipe out a whole herd of caribou because they just go blood crazy or bloodthirsty that are trapped in the snow, and they're not eating any of them. They just want to kill. And that happens. And it's proof is even in the upper peninsula of Michigan, how the deer population is so low, and it's not from overhunting. It's not from nothing that's changed. There's just too many wolves, and they don't understand that, they're detrimental to the big game population.
Do you have
There's no controlling them.
Do you have any idea what the population is up there off the top of your head?
No, I don't at this time, because it was always mixed numbers. First, there was, maybe 100 wolves in the UP. Then the next year, somehow we had 800 wolves. Well, if you have 800 and you got breeding, pair of wolves, and with pups, it's just like coyotes. And where I live here, like in a 2.5 mile area between me and two of my buddies, in the last 3 years, we've killed 50 or 60 coyotes, and it's no end in sight. When I shot that doe the other night, I come up to the house, grabbed the 4-wheeler trailer, drove back there, wasn't even gone 35, 40 minutes, and the coyotes are already eating hindquarters on her.
Are you kidding
that
me?
Quick. No, and my buddy son shot one Friday night, 8-point or 6-point, whatever, a mile over. Went up, said, Dad, I shot a buck tonight. Okay, let's eat dinner. We'll go back and get her. Go back there. The coyotes already got on the hindquarters of that. I mean, we just can't kill enough of them. So it's the same thing. The wolves are the same way,
And that's how these anti-hunters work, is they will go after trapping, not to stop trapping, but to stop you from controlling the predator population. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Right.
Well, if you think about it, like, muskies, right? You got a pond, let's say, and, the pond or a lake or whatever, and biologists come in and there's too many fish. Okay, well, fishermen could come up and just catch a bunch of fish, lower the numbers of fish in the lake, or you could go the route of the wolf or the Western Environmental Law Center or whoever. And no, we want to release the most dangerous, predator known to man as far as fish goes. We're going to drop a bunch of muskies in here. They'll take care of it. Well, yeah, they'll take care of it. They'll just eat all the fish, right? They'll eat all the trout. And then there's no trout left, and now it's a muskie pond. It's a muskie lake where you could just go in and catch a bunch of fish, lower the numbers, because you can actually track it and how many people or how many fish each person is catching. It's documented. It's logged. You do not know how many fish the muskie's going to eat. You don't know the long-term repercussions of what the wolves are going to do. You don't know how many elk they're going to eat. And, once they eat enough, they'll move on. That's not exactly like pinpoint surgical science. That it's a guess, and you're hoping, and you don't know what those long-term repercussions are going to do. That's just on the animals. I mean, no more elk in Colorado. That means the $40 million or whatever a year on tags that people buy. No more revenue. That means the Fish and Wildlife, department has no more funding. It's a fast spiral downhill, and the game wardens have enough issues right now as it is keeping up, because their numbers are low. So, that goes into biologists, the Fish and Wildlife officers. That cuts into their funding, because if we're not buying tags, they're not getting paid.
One of the best, it was from a biologist. This wasn't off the, off the top of somebody's head. They said that wolves will breed at the same rate as a hog, in that, before anybody jumps all over that, in that you'd have to kill 70%, yearly to maintain the number you have. And if you don't have trapping, if you think that hunters are going to go out and kill 70% every year, you're smoking crack, because it is at the worst time of the year, weather-wise, that they're vulnerable. In December, that's why we pay trappers here in Idaho, hunters and trappers, to, we reimburse them to get out there and get after them, because you ain't going to do it through hunting. Furthermore, when you have states like Colorado, Oregon, looking at wolves, when you're not allowed to when your game department isn't allowed to manage lions and bears to the fullest extent, and you're going to put the bigger, badder predator into the mix, you're screwed. I mean, seriously screwed. If you can't hound hunt, bait, spring bear hunt, all of that for bears and increase the take, I mean, that's what they did in Idaho. They had to. They had to go to 2 bear units. They had to lower the price tags on bears alone to try to suppress the bear population to make room for the wolves.
Well, you say you've got to kill 70% of them to keep the population at its current level?
That's what yes, that's what a biologist told me.
Okay, well, if that's the case, you can hunt pigs down here out of a helicopter with a machine gun year-round, and we're not keeping up.
Yeah, I can't say it's species to species, but this biologist, I think he was out of Canada, said it was similar to hogs, where you had to kill 70% yearly to maintain the number.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is if that is the case, it's completely impossible. It's like I said, you can down here you can hunt pigs with a bazooka if you want, and I mean you just can't. It's not feasible.
What I don't understand about like Colorado with this reintroduction, you have the blueprint from Idaho and Wyoming and Montana of what the wolves have done to the big game populations there. What in the world are you even thinking is going to happen? It's not going to happen in Colorado. Your big game animals are different. No, they're going to get wiped slick. It's that simple if they're not controlled.
Don't you think that's
probably?
It,
I mean, they're having too many fight nights and not paying attention to actual biology and science and numbers. I don't get it either, because it's like, okay, the Lolo herd, for example, one of the greatest places to hunt elk, turned to shit in a matter of a short period of time because of wolves. Now, what's amazing to me is some of the different kind of left hanging, if you look at actually the data they produce, it's a far left view of it. Is, oh no, actually we looked and it wasn't the wolves, it was bears and mountain lions. The wolves really didn't do that much damage. So, magically life has gone on in the Lolo area and the herd has done great. We reintroduced wolves, and then, the numbers went to shit. But what, the bears and lions just got hungrier than normal when we reintroduced the wolves? Like, it's such a swayed view of it that it's not even worth reading, although I did read the entire article. And it's like, okay, well, if it was bears and lions doing it, it's because the wolves scared the hell out of them towards the bears and lions. I mean, obviously it was the wolves. The issue was the wolves. And people have tried to weasel their way around that fact where, as a hunter, you're looking at it and like, look, I've hunted the Lolo area for 15 years and it was amazing. We introduced wolves and now it sucks. It's common sense. And there are hunters that truly are wanting wolves to come in. I just read an article about a hunter, he's in Colorado, who thinks that the wolves are a great idea. And it's like, what part of your brain thinks that's a great idea? No matter what way I look at it with common sense, there's nothing good that will come out of it.
Well, I was going to screenshot an article and send it to you just the other day, Aaron, because there was an article in Backpacker magazine calling for it was something like, now is the time to stop predator management, right? So that's what the whole movement is. Jim, you said, can't they see the blueprint, what happened in Idaho? Yeah, they can. And that's exactly why meaning, non-hunters, anti-hunters, that is why they want wolves in Colorado, is to push to hands-off management. I don't want to say his name. I have a friend that is very involved at the federal level. I don't know how to put this without giving him away. He said that there is a big push to stop game management on federal lands, right? So it's just hands off. Let the wolves, let the bears, let the lions, deer, elk, moose, whatever, figure it out. Well, okay, but let's go back to conservation. Where does the money come from for habitat improvement? And seems to me like the North American model of conservation has worked. Did I say that wrong? North American wildlife. Is it model of?
It doesn't really matter. Everybody will get the point.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me that it's worked damn well for 80 years or 90 years, whenever. Turkeys, moose,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you don't have the funding from hunters, that money goes away, and then nothing's managed properly.
It comes full circle. And if you put your okay, I'm going to get wound up again. If you put your IPA down and think about who supports what, maybe we can all get on the same page here, because the wolves really didn't work out for the last remaining caribou herd in the lower 48, because they shipped the last 6 of them up to Revelstoke, BC, put them in a cage so they could, capture the DNA and try to keep the remnants of the herd together, because it went from 40 down to 6 in a matter of years when the wolves moved in. Oof.
Yeah, well, they're just so people don't get, another, like, not to get off the wolf subject too much, but like here in Michigan, like around urban areas around, say, Detroit or Grand Rapids or Lansing, they're big cities, but the deer are in the city like crazy. Well, Michigan, for some reason, we will not allow urban deer hunting with archery equipment in the city limits. But then you've got all these people complaining that all their fancy shrubs and their, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 homes are getting destroyed, all their landscaping. There's car deer accidents nonstop. So they won't let us go in there legally with archery equipment and try to manage this herd. But they'll raise everyone's taxes, and they bring sharpshooters in there with rifles and shoot them all in the head, and that's okay. Man. I just can't wrap my head around that. You're using tax dollars. We want to take these deer legally, and you won't let us do it. So it's this whole mindset, just like bringing in the wolves. They're not going to do what yes, they are. They're going to destroy the wildlife, and maybe that's what they want. So then there's no hunters anymore, the end game.
I guess as we're talking about this, though, it is kind of dawning on me, and sure, there's been a groundswell of new hunters, and maybe this is, Aaron, you're probably going to say that's what you've been talking about for a long time, but sure, there's a groundswell of new hunters, but it seems to me like maybe that's the ones that we're, butting heads with, like, hey, it's about management, and maybe they're the ones that are going, no, we want wolves. We think it's going to be great. Well, maybe that's the ones we're fighting.
Some of them I'm sure are. And, a lot of it, we've got, multiple different, age bracket here on the, we got a wide variety, with the 4 of us on here. But, if you look at, my partner in crime, Frank's, 32, I guess 31. Blake, how old are you?
29.
Okay, so Blake, were you raised in a hunting family?
Yeah, a few generations deep anyway.
Yeah, okay, so, you're born and you're raised in hell with the BB gun and shooting Tweety birds and shit. You shouldn't be out on the front yard. Your dad's taking you fishing and he's trying to not make you out like a knucklehead, and you're learning about the outdoors, and, hunting is a part of your life. It's just what you do. And, you're raised, more or less what I figure the right way. And you, since birth, right? You split firewood as a kid, you went out and you hunted, you ate what you killed, and, whatever. And then you have you're raised in the city and you played Nintendo, and then, you went to a CrossFit gym and you start talking about, clean red meat, and you become a hunter. You skipped a lot there, and I'm not saying that's bad, good, or indifferent, but there's some things maybe, missing, and I say missing meaning there's some things that maybe you didn't get involved with that maybe somebody that started hunting it, from birth basically, did, and your views or however you want to look at it are different. And that's what I see is, some of the questions I get that are a little off the wall is the person doesn't mean any harm. They're learning. And when they ask the questions and okay, that makes sense. And I got it. And they kind of move forward. And then there's other people that already think, maybe they know from what they've heard from somebody else or, like bear baiting. If you get somebody that doesn't like bear baiting and they introduce somebody into hunting, but they're telling that person how bear baiting is so bad, but they're leaving out the fact that probably between that and hounds, really the most ethical tool, for management and conservation, because you can choose what you shoot. You can shoot adult males, right? And the whole 9 yards. You actually can pinpoint exactly what you're going to shoot, with baiting or hounds. But if the person, doesn't get that portion of the equation, and they're just like, oh, this isn't fair chase, you're using dogs and they're stuck in a tree and it's inhumane, or okay, well, if you get it introduced to it that way, it sounds worse than, hey, this way we're only shooting males, we're only shooting mature ones. We get to pick. We're not shooting any females, whatever, on and on and on. If they're not taught all that, they're really getting half of the picture, and that seems to be what's happening. I don't say it's anyone's fault, and I love the fact that a lot of people are getting into hunting. I just think there's a lot of things that the four of us learned at a young age about conservation and management that other people maybe haven't. And I bring up baiting and hounds because that's a prime example.
And I just want to be clear. It's not that I hate wolves. And I mean, when you see one in the wild, they're amazing. I mean, I've seen them in Alaska. I've seen them in Ontario, even here in northern Michigan. They're amazing animals. I mean, they are what they are, but they're also vicious killers, and they need to be managed is all I'm saying. And for people thinking that they're not what they are, they're wrong. They're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, I'm with you. As much as I talk about wolves, and my frustration is about management. Where I bear hunt, almost every night, I hear wolves down in the bottom of the canyon. Well, not every night, 2 or 3 times a week, I'll hear them, and it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. Wish they weren't here. They're here. It's kind of cool to hear them. But we need to manage them. That's
the thing. Like I had brought up with the muskies and the trout pond and everything else is, what hunters harvest reports. What they're taking. It's very pinpointed. You get the phone call at the end of every season. Did you fill this tag? How was your hunt? Did you see a lot of game? You can't go ask the wolf like, hey, can you calm it down this week? The numbers are pretty low. Hey, can you stop killing? They don't stop. And the thing is, that in the case of wolves, it is hard to kill wolves. They roam like crazy. They're just a difficult animal to manage. And so then you talk about trapping. Snaring specifically is very effective on wolves, but then a lot of people, including a lot of hunters, don't like trapping or snaring. But, if you don't have that plan ahead of time for management, it's a problem. And I don't give a shit with wolves one way or another, but I do know, I've seen devastation of predators and how bad it can be. And in the case of Colorado, we have enough predator issues already. We don't need wolves. No matter how cool they are, we don't need them here, especially in any great numbers.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head when if they're here, there needs to be an aggressive management program. It's not like a bear. It's not like a lion. It breeds far more. It hunts in packs, unlike lions and bears. It's a far more efficient killer. If they're here, then it needs to be an aggressive management program. Aggressive, I don't think sportsmen can get aggressive enough. I think then you're talking about states, having to go in and kill them. However, we've had to fly and kill them in Idaho, with aerial gunning. That costs money. So if you're gonna balance them out, then it needs to be an aggressive management program. If you're not going to, then it's going to wreak havoc on your economy, on your game populations. It's going to be far-reaching.
Well, it's certainly not my wheelhouse, but one of the things that makes the most sense to me, and I guess dumbing it down to a pretty redneck level, I guess, is hunters have an off switch. You can reduce tags, you can do a lot of different things. And, hearing people talk about wolves that are around wolves a lot, they just don't, there's not a switch where you can turn them off. They're go, kill, kill, kill. And I guess that's an important thing for people who aren't around wolves or don't have experience around them to understand.
And I do believe this whole subject of predator management is why you don't hear Steve Reneller and the Meat Eater crew talk about BHA anymore. I mean, that's been very noticeable. I listened to probably half of their episodes because I find some of their guests pretty intriguing.
No, that's for sure. We should probably talk about something less controversial now and move on to religion and politics.
Oh no, we did get off on a tangent. My apologies.
No, well, it's definitely worth mentioning. It's certainly an issue, and the different, like I talked about with the you brought up the newer hunters and the older hunters and how you were raised and everything else. And I think the best thing you can do, and we're doing it now, is just anytime I get somebody new into it and asking me questions, is try to relay all the things that I was taught or learned from the beginning to end, so they're not missing kind of the big picture. And you see a lot of crap talking on social media and everything about conservation isn't just a hashtag, but it's true. Just going out and killing an animal is part of conservation, whether you mean to or not. You are taking an animal out of the population to keep the herd or the numbers at the manageable level, or the level that the biologist deems necessary. It's not just a new catchphrase and a new hashtag. There are a lot of people that talk about conservation, but do nothing to help it, whether that be, sheep and goat counts, whatever it is. So I don't know that, maybe everybody sees the full picture with all of it and everything else. And I think with like the wolves, there's nothing a wolf is doing for conservation, in my opinion, that's good. Maybe at face value, and you take away all the bad stuff, there might be some good portions of it. But the fact there's no off switch, is like Blake said, is a big problem. Especially our moose herd is doing amazing. Our elk herd's good. In some places actually the elk herds are down and maybe the mule deer are, but overall as a state, our population is doing really well. So yeah, let's go ahead and set up and reintroduce a bunch of wolves now that we've got it right. Makes total sense.
Yeah, we did get off on a tear. I think it's a good conversation, but I think it's an important conversation, but it's kind of did stray away from traditional archery, right? Yeah.
Well, now we can talk about we can talk about Zwicky broadheads and how well they come out of the package and don't need to be hardly any work to resharpen them. Something less controversial.
Bear razorhead.
Yeah.
Tell me, Jim, did you have a bleeder blade in those? Is that same bleeder blade last three animals?
No, actually, you know what? I have not used bleeder blades at all this year on them, even the caribou in Alaska. And I blew the arrow right through that thing too. And normally I always use the bleeder, and this year I didn't, because I'm running that brand new Bear Selway quiver,
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what it is with the hood with that. When I put those bleeder blades in, it's like they're jamming into each other, the broadheads. So I'm just going to shoot them 2-blade, which I usually carry a mix from the quiver anyway. And I've just been running 2 blades and no problem at all.
So when are we all
getting a bunch of them?
Now, when are we all getting together? We mentioned briefly the Big Game Classic. It's also tied in with the Michigan Traditional. Was it Michigan Traditional Club?
Yeah, Michigan Traditional Bow Hunters. Yeah, so that's in March. It'll be the 19th and 20th, and it's in Grand Rapids at the. I think it's just called the Plaza Hotel at the airport now. It used to be called the Crown Plaza or the Grand Plaza, but I know they just changed ownership. So, yeah, so that's when I guess we'll all be there at the same time.
And you guys are still a go with the COVID. Is your governor going to be there, or what's up with that?
I don't know what's going on. I actually just heard today that there's some new restrictions going in here. I don't ever watch TV or anything, but I guess there's some new restriction tomorrow. If you go in a restaurant, you got to leave your name and phone number in case there's an issue or something like that. I don't really know what else. Yep. So I know everyone's in a panic mode. I went into town this morning and to the grocery store, and it's like everybody's going crazy, clearing the shelves off. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, you didn't hear there's new restrictions tomorrow. I honestly don't know what's going on.
Well, I can tell you, man, if I go into a restaurant in Michigan, I'm leaving your name and your number.
Well, I already got yours memorized. So.
Start coughing all over people.
Jim Eeckhout.
Yeah, right.
No, that's the thing, Rob, that you were telling me that you were wanting to go to, or us to go to.
Oh, whatever. Yeah. No, I'm planning on it for sure, and I'm hoping you're going to make it. Yeah, we were talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because everyone brings their mounts in. It is a pretty good display of that. And then they have that. I want to say 2 or 3 shows ago they started that trad film fest. So it's like guys make their own movies, self-filmed, and they put it together, and then they have that like on Friday night, and everyone reviews them, and they vote on it, and pick that. And,
is that something Compton's doing, or
get in on that?
Yeah, that's from the Compton side, like I say. So we're the host club, and then they did it a couple years ago out in Denver, and it was hosted out there, and then they went to Pittsburgh, and then now it's in Michigan this year because obviously Florida got canceled last year because of the COVID stuff, and then they'll announce this year too, where it's going to be in 2 years from now. So
we do a Stickbow Chronicles Audad film, Patuto.
Oh, that might be something.
Yeah,
they got did they have a comedy category?
We got a bleep button.
It can only be so many minutes long, and I don't know what it is this year. I think they've shortened it up. Maybe I don't think it could be too long.
Geez, Blake, we're gonna have to do that now that you mention it.
Oh, we can do it.
I believe I'm gonna be the one guiding you guys, so I'll certainly film all the bloopers.
I bet there will be a blooper or two.
Oh, hell yeah! My life is a blooper.
Well, those little guys are not easy to kill, so it'll be interesting.
As long as we get as long as I get a chance, as long as I get a stock.
Believe me, you will have guaranteed more than one stock. But
they're hard to kill in a high fence, so I can imagine they're probably pretty hard to kill out there.
I missed 11 times to kill that big one.
Oh, that's encouraging. I only have a 6-arrow quiver.
You better bring a Safari Tough. Put it on your back.
This is sponsored by Safari Tough. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Aaron, you're doing a giveaway with a hunt for Top of Texas, aren't you?
Yep, yeah, we are for a U hunt. Yep.
Yeah. When are you drawing that?
I don't know. I probably should have figured that out. Probably in a couple of weeks.
How do people get in on that?
Just go to my Instagram page and follow its Space Map and Marsupial Gear, Taito Knives, and Kifaru. We threw a bunch of stuff in, but go to my page and follow those companies and tag a buddy, and you're entered to win.
Nice. And Jim, where do people find about the Big Game Classic that you guys are hosting?
Compton's going to have it on the webpage. They're just getting ready to update everything. What it was the hotel we were going to, that it's going to be held at. It's switched owners. And so everything kind of got put on the back burner, but now it's a go and everything's good. So I talked to Dennis the other day, and he said that the president of Compton, and he said that it should be up on the website within the next week or two. All the details on that.
Cool.
That Audette hunt's gonna be a hoot.
Oh man, we got a good crew going down there. Too bad, Jim. I was just thinking of that when we were BSing. Too bad you didn't get in on that. But it's me and Blake and Cody Robling, Terry Bannett, and Justin.
Yeah, Justin Metcalf.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Justin Metcalf just lives over the border from me. We got to get together prior to, but yeah, that's going to be a kick in the pants. I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
I remember, Rob, when you guys were talking about it, I talked to you, but the issue with me is vacation time from work because I take so much time to spend it in Alaska and everything. I'm limited, but
I'm so glad I'm so glad you said that. And not, you were supposed to get back to me because I thought that's where you're going. I was like, oh shit.
That's generally where it ends up for me when I be like, man, you should have went on this. You're like, yeah, you were supposed to call me. I'm like, oh, my bad.
Well,
yeah, it'll be fun. Circling back to how big Texas actually is, y'all were asking me if I could pick y'all up at the airport, and I was like, dude, I'm flying.
Are you serious?
It's like a 9-hour drive. Yeah, Justin was asking if I could pick y'all up from the airport, just like it was a few hours down the road or something. I was like, dude, I'm probably flying too.
I think Cody's in Indiana or something like that, and then Terry's gonna fly. We're talking about hooking up with Terry and renting one rig, Justin and I, because Justin and I will fly together down there from Spokane. I'm kind of getting fired up about it now.
Yeah, I'm fired.
Yeah, they'll be
a good time.
Javelina's down there too, which is cool.
Awesome, good deal, man. We kind of got off on a tangent. I kind of feel bad about that, but it's kind of relevant in today's the climate.
Good podcasts come from tangents sometimes.
There you go.
I pull every one of mine is right out of the pocket, straight out of my ass, and they seem to work pretty good. So I like tangents.
Huh. I'm not right out of your ass. Perfect.
That's the secret, huh?
Hey, how's the Biden campaign
secret
going?
To fame and fortune.
How's the Biden campaign going? You guys feeling pretty confident, Aaron?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny if the politics wise or whatever. Like, there's a few. I mean, there's one specific good friend of all of us that voted for Hillary and voting for Biden, and vote how you want. I mean, that's the great thing about being an American. But I'm not sure how you could vote for Biden and feel confident about anything other than the world ending. Me personally, but as far as saying and the things that I about, it's small businesses or whatever. The more I watch of his, the scarier the more worried I get. By no means am I saying Trump is perfect, but out of the two, it's a pretty easy choice for me. But maybe I'm ready, but I do not feel good about anything if Biden gets elected. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous that I'll be down to a BB gun will be the only weapon I have in 10 years because he's taking everything else away.
Well,
you watch Greg Bull's Facebook videos. Was he calling Dementia Joe?
Yeah.
I have a good friend that we have some pretty, we have some good conversations on it. And honestly, it boils down to, is this the best we can do? So there's some things
that's true.
Yeah. There's some things that I like about Trump. There's some things that drive me crazy about him. Like, I won't go into it, but, so yeah, we don't want to go down this road. We had 4 years to get some people together, and you guys got Biden. So good luck. I mean, maybe it's Biden, but there's damn good people in this country, and that's who you put up. So here we go.
Yeah. That note, it should be an interesting month. before the election.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, it might be an interesting 6 months, but that was pretty cool seeing Cameron Haynes and Ted Nugent get together over there in Michigan, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Old Nuge.
Yeah, they what he did. Yeah, he was playing the Star Spangled Banner or whatever.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, it's good stuff. It was a good turnout. Yeah. Good turnout.
Cool. Did you go?
No.
I thought I saw you on TV.
No, I was probably in a tree stand. I still got 9 doe permits left.
Wearing a Keep Hammering shirt.
9
I swore I
freaking
saw
doe
you.
permits. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we can shoot. Where I live here, we can shoot 10 does. 10 does and 2 bucks.
Well, get her done. You're going to still use the same arrow?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's good to go. I just sharpened it tonight.
Wow.
Shade with it.
We'll have to take a donation. We'll pass the hat around, see if we can get you another arrow.
No, I've got some.
You guys got anything else you want to hit on?
Nah, I'm all set.
I think we hit about everything, literally.
Well, we got into politics, and we'll see how that goes.
Aaron, parting words?
I'm good. Nope, I'm solid. If I see anything else, I'll really be in trouble. I've already stepped on my wiener, I'm sure, at least 4 times. So
You sound like you're about throat deep on a peanut butter bar.
No, I just
ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Actually, I'm not going to lie. It was good.
don't wear corks.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done because I don't even know what time it is, but I got to get up in a couple hours for work, so I'm done.
Well, we appreciate you sacrificing, Jim.
Oh, yeah, for you guys, anything, you know. Yep.
All right, guys. Hey, appreciate your time. You guys, good luck. All of you.
Thanks.
You betcha.
Yeah, thank you, guys.